I picked up this $5 crochet kit from Kmart. It claims that it can make 2 fruity keyrings. But can it be done? Let's find out together. Hey, my name is Emma. I'm your crochet bestie and welcome back to my channel, Woodvale Lane. Today we're testing out the Crochet Your Own Keyring kit from Kmart. It's $5 and my expectations are low, but cautiously optimistic. Let's start with unboxing. The yarn comes in 5 colors and it feels exactly how you would expect. It's definitely acrylic, but it's soft enough and not terrible quality. I do think that the yarn being acrylic is an advantage here because it is a bit harder wearing than say cotton. And as these projects are going to be keychains, I think that is a good choice of yarn for this project. The crochet hook that comes with the kit is a 2.5 mil. It feels sturdy enough and I will be using it throughout the entirety of the project. I've tested it on my hook gauge and it is very true to size. The top one is my clover hook and this bottom one is the hook from the kit. So you can see they are similar, but not the same. The clover hook has a flat edge and a rounded back, whereas the crochet kit one has 2 flat edges. Next is the hardware and it is the 2 keychains. They definitely feel good enough and the clasp is quite strong. I also like that they added a little metal bar into the keyrings section so that you can slide your keys on before removing that bar and it just makes it a bit easier. Next is the plastic needle. I don't really have any comments on this. I don't like plastic needles, but they will get the job done. There is also this bag of filler. Now I don't know if it's going to be enough filler to fill the project, but we will see. You can never really be too sure until you've broken the seal and the bag has expanded. There is also an instruction booklet in this kit. I'll talk more about the instructions in depth in the rest of the video. But from just skimming through, they look like very basic instructions and easy enough to follow if you're a beginner or an advanced beginner. The tips on the front are kind of funny. One says, find many great video tutorials online for stitches and methods. And the second one is, create a loose weave by not pulling the stitches too tightly. Okay. The instructions don't tell you if they are in UK or US terms. These are in UK crochet terms. So if you're a beginner, you'll need to look up the UK crochet terms to complete this project. There are 3 things that you will need to actually finish these projects. Number 1 is a pair of scissors so that you can cut the yarn. Number 2 is a stitch marker. Now, a stitch marker would be really helpful to keep track of the start of the project because you'll be working in the round, so it won't be very obvious as to where the beginning part of that round is. And number 3 is a pair of pliers. This is so that you can open the chain and attach your crochet piece. I also really liked the design of this crochet kit. I like that it is a easy carry and it is a carton. So for reference, this is what we are trying to make. Let's see how I go. I'm going to be starting with the lemon. So I have my instructions and I have my yarn. Let's crochet this lemon. One thing that I did immediately notice was that the yarn color is a lot darker than what the actual picture is on the front of the box, but hopefully that won't matter too much. So I started with making the fruit and surprisingly, I didn't have any problems with the instructions. The experience crocheting the fruit part of the lemon was actually very easy. I didn't have any problems with it at all. The only thing of real note here is that it doesn't tell you when to stuff the lemon. So at the end of the instructions, it says start stuffing about halfway. Now I think that is a little bit too premature to be stuffing your fruit. I would highly suggest that you start stuffing about 3 rows before the end. This is so that you can start getting enough in there and having enough space to do that, but also so that you're not combating the filling the entire time that you're crocheting the rest of the piece. I think if you want to make your piece look a little bit nicer, you could always learn how to do the invisible decrease. Personally, I didn't do this and I don't really see much of a difference in this piece, but if you wanted it to look a bit different, highly suggest doing the invisible decrease. After doing the fruit, I moved on to do the leaf, and this was actually another easy one that I didn't have any problems with. If you're a beginner, you might have a little bit of an issue with it because you're crocheting back onto the chain and then turning at the top and then going back down the other side. This is one of those things that unless you know that's what's actually happening, you can totally miss it and not understand what the instructions are saying at all. So basically you're just going as you normally would down one side, but there is an instruction that says 3 double crochet in 1 stitch, which is slightly confusing because it is the chain. So you're doing 3 double crochets into the chain. So that should then effectively turn you enough so that you can then do the other side of the leaf without any issues. If you're more of an experienced crocheter though, you probably would have seen this before and won't have any problems. Also, I highly recommend leaving a long tail so that you can sew the leaf down correctly. I unfortunately cut mine a little bit too short, so I had to go back in with an extra piece of yarn just to like sew it down and make it look nice. The next piece is the flower. The only modification I made to the flower was I did my first round in yellow, but instead of finishing off the object and making it tight, I just joined with the white and then I crocheted the petals. And I don't think it looks any different, honestly. So after you have your fruit, your leaf, and your flower, it says it's time to sew, which is the correct time to do that. The instructions are a little bit vague, and if you're a beginner, it's not really gonna make much sense anyway. They say, join each part together by using the plastic needle and yarn. Weave the ends in to hide tail and cut off excess yarn. I mean, I basically did that. I went onto YouTube and I found a tutorial by the Woodvales of how to attach crochet pieces to your amigurumi, and I highly suggest that, and I will link it below because it really helped me understand how to hide the yarn while I was sewing the crochet piece down. Oh, and the instructions here on how to weave in the ends is completely wrong for amigurumi, so I wouldn't even worry about it. Next in the instructions is sewing on the face and the mouth. Now, besties, I was like, what are they talking about? The eyes are safety eyes. Their picture on this box, they're using safety eyes. They did not sew on eyes for this project. So I'm sure it has to do with safety reasons as to why they won't give us safety eyes for these projects, but it's a bit annoying because I didn't expect to be like sewing on eyes. And honestly, embroidering onto crochet is not my strongest suit, so don't laugh, but I tried my best. Yeah, so this is my completed lemon. For reference, this is what the lemon is meant to look like. They are a little bit different, but you know what? Overall, not the worst outcome. Next, it was time for me to start the strawberry. Like the lemon, the strawberry instructions were very easy to follow, and making the fruit was actually very delightful. Again, I would highly suggest that you get a stitch marker to mark the first part of your round, because otherwise you're gonna get a bit lost, especially with the strawberry. Again, it's not until you've reached the end of the instructions that it says that you should start stuffing halfway through. And I just think that's a bit wrong. By row 14, you'll be wanting to start stuffing your fruit. I think I left it a little bit too late, so I had about 2 rows left, and as I was stuffing it, it was just so hard to do. I ended up getting the back of the crochet hook and just like jamming it in there with the stuffing to try and get more in, which was a tad stressful, I have to say. But I could have just frogged it back, maybe a row or 2, start stuffing, and then recrocheted it, but you know me, I don't have time for that. The hardest part of the strawberry instructions was doing the 5 double crochet togethers at the end of the project. So basically to finish, you are just doing 5 decreases. And I have to say it was really challenging for me to do with the crochet hook provided. I do have a tight tension, but I didn't think that it was going to be that hard of an issue. But if you are all the way up to your last row and you are struggling with it, just sew it together. You're gonna whack a bunch of leaves on top of that soon, so don't worry about it. Next instructions were the leaves, and again, I didn't actually have any issues with the leaves. All I'm gonna say is leave a long tail again. Honestly, the longer the better. I had a lot of green left over, so I don't think you should really be stressing about running out of yarn. Just leave a long tail so that you can sew down your piece correctly. Shock horror though, when I was closing up my magic circle for the leaves, I was pulling it and I promise it was not that hard, but the yarn snapped. I was so shocked. I had no idea what to do because now the magic circle tail is so small, I can't actually weave it in and hide it anywhere. I tried not to stress too much about it because there is a lot of yarn left over, so I could always go back in and crochet another leaf if I need to. Or what I think I might do soon is just go back in with a little bit of glue and make sure that the actual magic circle is very secure to the top of the fruit. But yeah, I was just trying not to let the snap yarn ruin my entire project. But I will say, I think that the quality of the yarn is a little bit lower than what I had initially thought. So please be careful when you're pulling your magic circles together. So the next instruction is to embroider on the eyes and then the mouth. But this is wrong, do not do that first. First, put the leaves on the strawberry and sew them down. This would be better because then you can position the eyes and the mouth to look nice with the leaves instead of trying to make the leaves look good with the eyes and the mouth that you've already sewn down. And for the sew instructions right at the end here, It says, join the parts together by using the plastic needle and yarn. Weave the ends to hide tail and cut off excess yarn. Sew the strawberry seeds with white thread. Definitely sew the strawberry seeds right at the end. That is the correct spot for them because again, it's all about balance and you can make your piece look nicer if you're doing an all over detail like that at the end. Then all that is left at the end of that is to attach the keyring, which I did with some pliers. And here is my strawberry. He looks, again, a little bit goofy, but that's okay. Here's a keyring. It's not that serious. Maybe you can see what I mean by putting the white details in at the end here. So the way that I tried to do the seeds was I tried to keep them in the row and then go up one. So I went through one hole, out the top hole, and I think that looks the best. But you can see that I've got some wonky ones like over here. Towards the bottom, it was a little bit harder to get the stitches to look nice and even. And I accidentally went through 2 here instead of just the 1, but you know what? It's fine. It's a keyring, it's not that deep. Side by side, how do they look? Honestly, nothing really alike, do they? But whatever. You know what, even though it doesn't quite look like the picture, the strawberry still has the vibe and I do like it. Let's talk about the instructions. More specifically, I want to talk about the basic crochet stitch diagram. If you're a beginner, this thing is a nightmare. These slipknot instructions are needlessly complicated and you can definitely achieve it without having to use a crochet hook. The magic ring is also confusing in the way that it is written because surprisingly, the magic ring is just a very loose slipknot. I have a really easy tutorial if you want to see how you can create one quickly and I'll link it here. There is also instructions here for front loop only work, but nowhere in the entirety of this project do you just work in the front loop only. I think they may have added this in for when you're making the leaf for the lemon, but it's kind of confusing because then you're just working into the chain and not actually into a stitch. So there's not 2 loops that you would need to work into. And the other thing I have beef with is the weaving in ends part up here. The weaving in ends section is for when you're doing a flat piece, not for when you're doing amigurumi. So it's completely wrong and unachievable. So here are my final thoughts on the crochet your own keyring kit. So for $5, I actually think this is a pretty decent kit. The crochet hook was pretty sturdy and I can use it for other projects. Even though my keyrings are a little bit goofy looking, I still had a lot of fun. Would I say that this is beginner friendly? If you've mastered some of the basic stitches, then definitely yes, you could get through this project. If this is your first project ever though, you may struggle on a few terms and a few methods on how to join things. But YouTube is your friend and you can definitely find a lot of videos on how to do the basics. Let's talk about the time and the fun factor. So each of my keyrings took 3 hours each. And you know what, it's been super rainy, so I have been so happy that I've had something to do and something a little bit whimsical. I never would have made fruit themed keyrings if I hadn't picked up this kit. I'm definitely gonna say this is a fun kit. Would I gift or recommend it? You know what, yes. If you are also having a rainy afternoon and want something to do, or you just want to get into crochet and have an easy project that you can finish, then yes, pick up the kit, give it a go. So let me know, would you give this $5 crochet kit a go, or is this a hard pass? Are you currently making it? Let me know. Thanks for watching, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!